All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, to be honest, the setting is a little bit darker because it is nighttime. I had a little bit of a migraine, and I guess I got a friend. I don't know what this camera is. I guess I got a friend dead center in the middle of my goddamn fucking forehead. It's so crazy how acne can ruin your life that way. You know what I'm saying? And I also got a migraine now, so my energy seems a little bit low, and I don't like doing these at nighttime because the lighting seems kind of like off, even if I edit it and things like this. But nonetheless, we don't miss. We show the fuck up, and it's all about our perspective. At the end of the day, just because the expectations aren't 110% up here for how I want to put some output doesn't mean I got to bring it down here in terms of just feeling like shit and things like this. You know what I mean? Are there a lot of variables that are contributing to maybe making my mindset go left field? 100%. But do I have to pursue them? Fuck no. And I think that's kind of a tone that I have with today's episode. And what I want to talk about is, I want to talk about losing motivation for the gym. I want to talk about that season of when you don't really know what to do for the gym. You're losing motivation to track your food. You're losing motivation to show up and hit the gym or whatever style of workout you're doing. You're losing motivation for that lifestyle change and all these different things. And to be honest, every single one of us that has actively pursued our life to become better in any area, this has always happened at some part where you lose that honeymoon phase, as you will, you know what I mean? Or that fresh car smell, as you will, all these different things, And I think it's so cool to break it down to, at the end of the day, you just got to rely on your foundation of success. And, anyone that's worked with me personally, my clients, you guys know, I'm always talking about your foundation, your habits, your lifestyle, everything that aligns with it. You break it down from your movements, from your cardio, your workouts, your every other thing that's offsets your life. You break it down from your relationship with food versus your non-negotiables, your whole foods versus your cheat meals, your junk food, or whatever else you have displayed in that. And then, at the end of the day, you're going to always rely back to your commitment to your goals, whether it's a relationship goal, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a boundary goal, whether it's a fitness goal, right? You're always going to look at that and be there's going to be different goals that are changing, whether it's school, career, whatever it may be, but you're always going to have goals in your life, So motivation is always going to come and go, let alone in the gym, let alone in a lot of things. But, motivation is going to change in the gym. It's going to change in relationships. It's going to change all the time. So that's when, again, you got to rely on your foundations of success, which is your movement patterns, your relationship with food and how you eat and fuel yourself for the day, and just your commitment to yourself in general. Now, obviously, I'm going to break this down just a little bit, but at the end of the day, like I said, if you had any type of period in your life where you have struggle with motivation, you're not alone, and it's completely fucking normal. So that's why we're talking about the foundation. We're going to break it down right now. Once you start to just honestly accept the fact that you're struggling with motivation and you stop beating yourself up with it and all of the emotions that come with that, is because it's hard to realize it, and you almost want to beat yourself up and be well, don't my goals inspire me? Is there something wrong with me? Am I doing something wrong? Why am I not committed and motivated to show the fuck up every day? And once you just accept that and shut the fuck up, it's no different than going to work. Some days you just don't want to fucking go. Some days you just don't want to show the fuck up. And you got to understand what keeps you in momentum. So going back to the foundation of the successes, when it comes to your movement patterns and moving your body, to a degree, there should never be an expectation change. Are you competing in bodybuilding or a performance-based metric or some type of physical output that you need to hit a certain metric? Then you have standards you absolutely need to follow. But if you're talking about a healthy lifestyle and all those things, this is a subjective to your opinion. So obviously we can all look at a mirror of ourselves and be this is the perfect version, 5-6 times in the gym, X, Y, and Z. But that's not realistic all of the time. So you gotta understand, you gotta take a step back in the realm of the foundation of your movements and be what is your bare ass minimum that you're willing to do? What are your non-negotiables? To give you an example for myself, my non-negotiables are 4 days in the gym a week. My picture perfect is 5-6, but I will never not go at least minimum 4 times a week. And that's just because that's a commitment I have myself from the last 10, 15 years of training. That's when I feel my best. 3 or less, I don't feel my best. So I know that if I need to stay my best with the foundation, when I lose motivation for the gym, I got to go minimum 4 times, even if I fucking hate it. Doesn't got to be, like I said, an hour and a half workout 6 times a week and absolutely grilling everything out when I'm in prep and really enjoying it. Because again, we go through those seasons, and I personally, like I said, I understand what you're talking about. But I think the same thing relies on your nutrition with food and things like this. Do you go through seasons of not wanting to track, not wanting to put things in MyFitnessPal, or adhere to your standards sometimes? Fuck yeah. Today's Sunday, and to be honest, I literally said to Emma, I was I want to dummy a fucking poutine. I don't even really like poutine and greasy foods, and for some reason, I want it so bad, but it's like at the end of the day, like just because some of these times come up and I didn't get it or anything like that. I actually had some stuff last night watching the fights, but you got to understand when you lose motivation, you'll be like, hey, here's my high standards. Here's how I'm going to crush everything. Here's everything's at. You still have a commitment to yourself. You still have a commitment to your relationship with food. It's just because you're not tracking everything religiously and making sure every single macro is within 5 grams of your goal doesn't mean you just stop eating. Doesn't mean you just completely fuck up on your protein and things like this. It's like just because you're not tracking your food in the app all the time doesn't mean it changes. If you eat the same things every day, you can still be cautious and aware as to where the standard is dropping. It's a prime example. Most people that's why they have a bad relationship with food is you don't track it, they just completely binge and go off the rails because there's no proof or evidence except for how you look and feel. So again, taking a step back with the foundation of your relationship with food is, do you lose motivation for the high fucking standards of it sometimes to track and everything? Abso-fucking-lutely. But that's when you got to rely on the foundations. Like mine, when I'm not in prep, not in getting into my bodybuilding and try to peak for my show, it's 3 whole meals a day. So make sure I eat breakfast, dinner, lunch, and then have 1 to 2 high protein meals because I know I got to keep my protein where it's at. Now, obviously, my entire life, I remind my clients of this all the time, like my entire life is revolved around this. So obviously my standards are going to be a little bit higher than some of you guys, and you guys can't compare things like this. But at the end of the day, like I still have my basics. And to be honest, when I start tracking religiously and start tracking within 5 grams of my macros, I'm usually only within 20 grams of my macros, because I've been doing this so long and so consistent. So the thing for you to take away with it is like, where's your non-negotiables? Breakfast, dinner, lunch is where you should start. 1 or 2 healthy snacks is where you should start. And that leads into water too. Just because you're not tracking anything. This is the most bizarre thing about water too, is everyone like looks at water as if it's like almost like the plague. It's like crazy. But if you understand like this, what we're talking right now, like your relationship with like food and the standards, regardless of where you're at, your water goal should never change unless you're going past 3 to 4 liters for a specific performance-based metric goal. That would make sense. But other than that, like you shouldn't miss at all with that. So I think again, like to be honest, the last part of it is really just understanding. It's like I said, is a part of the season, is part of the growth, because you got to understand where you are right now is absolutely where you used to dream to be. And I think that's why you lose motivation. And that's why we talk about mental health and perspective shifts and making sure you're aware of the growth, because, we're humans. We have shiny object syndrome. We always want the next new thing, no matter what it is. So we don't realize when we don't appreciate the things that we're actually having that we once used to dream for. We used to pray for, and I think that's when you go through these seasons of low motivation and you change your perspective to be super grateful for what you do have. And to give you an easy perspective shift as you're listening to this, think about before you ever started going to the gym or before you ever started moving your body in the manner of feeling healthy. But think about before you ever even thought about changing your diet in terms of wanting to fuel yourself for a better purpose. Don't even, and then compare yourself to like the boundaries that you have around you right now that make you absolutely feel your fucking best, and compare them to when you had no boundaries, you let everyone walk all over you, or you walked all over everyone else because maybe you had something else going on, whatever it may be. Compare when you very started, and then compare to where you were 6 months ago, and compare to where you are today, and compare to where you could be 6 months and a year from now. When you can kind of start to look at all these different measurements and metrics, you'll really start to realize you've lost motivation so many times. And then you reignited goals that you like had to kind of micronized to kind of get into the bigger goal because you started actually succeeding, but that's a whole other different subject to talk about, how to realize you're succeeding, all these different things. Because like, again, when I go back to the foundation of your goals and losing motivation, it's the commitment to yourself you never lose, so again, it's always on you to really rely on what area of your life that you're in. Many of you go through crazy seasons of life, especially when you have kids, especially when you're pursuing like the changes. Like, my life 4 or 5 years ago was working for a corporate job, good life with no really just an idea on paper. 2.5 years ago I was working for a bullshit ass franchise, people that were like even worse than the corporate job. And then I still was like a little bit closer to this. But then, 2 years ago, I took this full time. Last year, I was trying to figure out how to keep it here. This year, I'm like knowing what I'm doing. This time next year, I can't even expect. I don't even know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be exceeding my own expectations, because even when I lose motivation, I understand that it's a season of life and I'm not going to lose my commitment to myself. So the biggest things that you can do when you start to really understand that you're really losing motivation and you put all the bullshit aside of you from beating yourself up, feeling guilty and all these different things, and you really start to focus on, okay, how can I proactively get through this? You're going to understand the foundation, so change up your work workouts, change up your movement patterns. If you hit weights all the time, maybe try running. If you hit weights and run all the time or do anything like that, focus on huge mobility. Focus on huge yoga. Focus on a bunch of this type of stuff to get super mobile. Just commit to your goals in the fashion of movements. You don't got to do anything that's reinventing the wheel, but just try something new. Challenge yourself, because again, that leads into like one of the other things I'm going to say, which is your mindset. Again, because where you are right now may have been a place that you've dreamed of being and you just never appreciated. So maybe your expectations are tied up with assuming you should look different. You're assuming you should feel different, all these different things. I'm guilty of it. When I took me and Emma out of our jobs and we started really elevating in our life, I was mortified at how I was still severely depressed. I had a huge breakdown because like, damn. I just thought if I did A plus B equals C, and to a degree that's true. But again, when you're going through fitness goals, you guys gotta understand you guys lose motivation because two things. One, your expectations are higher than you expect. And two, you didn't appreciate that where you are now once where you want to be. And to bring in food, if you're tracking your food all the time, getting fucking sick of it, take a diet break. Just don't be an idiot and stay focused on your habits and eat whole foods. You don't got to be perfect. But again, 1% better each day is 365% better each year. And if you focus on where you were last year versus next year and all these different things, it's just about focusing on now and doing as best as you can. So at the end of the day, you're going to lose motivation. And at the end of the day, you're going to continue to level up as long as you focus on yourself with the foundation, understand your relationship with food is to fuel your life regardless of the standards of how you're tracking. You got non-negotiables, and then just move your fucking body in a manner that's going to serve your life. So when you get 90 to 100 years old, you can look at your great-grandkids and still fucking keep up with them. But at the end of the day, I appreciate you all, and I severely, severely, severely can't get words across as to how much I appreciate you guys all for tuning in, giving me you guys' feedback all the time. A lot of you guys are on the audio a hell of a lot more than the video, so we're trying to get some more video over here because it is more, more personality, more exciting, and it is crazy looking at myself from that angle because I'm used to doing it from this way. But if you go to the gym and you lost motivation, it's fucking normal. You're gonna be okay. Other than that, appreciate you guys all for tuning in as always, and let's have an absolute banger of a motherfucking week. Let's get it.